how to make a simple app. My idea for this app is there are going to be two sides, red and blue. The objective will be for the player to match the number on their side with the number on the top center of the screen, and they will be the winner of the game. First, let's place down 4 buttons in our app. Now, I'll press this button in order to enable Smart Snap, and this button to enable Grid Snap. And let's find the center of this app. Now we know this is the center. And before we place our 2 buttons, let's first place the backgrounds so that you'll know where to place our 4 buttons in the future. Let's get the texture rack node and make sure the parent is control. Now let's select expand on so that our image will scale to the size of the node. Let's load our PNG. And now scale it. Let's look at the button for reference on the center. The blue side covers half of the screen. Now let's do the same thing, but for the red side. Let's copy this node. By right-clicking the node, you bring up this menu, and you can press duplicate or Control D as a shortcut. Now let's drag it over to the other side of the app. Make sure it is scaled correctly. It seems correct. Change the color to red. Let's make sure that these nodes are actually scaling properly in the app. Go to Layout and select Keep Ratio. Let's do the same thing for the blue background. Now this should scale properly to the app, no matter what device you're using. Since we don't need the reference for the center, for now, we can move our button over to the correct side. And scale it properly. And let's now try and make it a rectangle. Let's make it 400 by 300 pixels. Scale it again. We want to make the button not too small so that it will be easy to press when they are using the app. Duplicate this button and move it down. Let's change the size of this button as well. And make the Y only 200. Scale it again. Move it a little bit further down. That seems good. Now let's do the same thing for the red side. Duplicate. Let's turn off the grid so that we're able to very easily move it over to the other side. Try and center it. That is probably good enough. Now let's duplicate this one. And that's our buttons that we're gonna need for our app. Search label. Create. Place it back. Make sure its parent is control. Let's resize it. Let's make the Y 200. And scale it properly. Duplicate this. And move it to the red side. Save it. Just in case it might accidentally close, you won't lose any progress. Select the control node and click this to attach a script. Click create, and now you have the script. Let's make two variables. Var blue counter. Copy this and change it to red. Let's make it integer. Let's make a function. Counter update. We want to look at this label, and we want to change the text of this label to become the blue counter value. Type $, and look at the name of the node. It is label. So double click to select it. Dot. And then the variable that you want to change is text. So type text. We can place a value on the label's text. You want the value to become blue counter. This is wrong. The variable text in label has a value of a string, and blue counter has a value of an integer. These two things are not compatible. So how are we gonna change the integer to a string? It's simple. Let's remove it and do capital S T R I N G, which is string. Parentheses. And now you get all these options. But what we need to do is actually paste in blue counter inside. This will actually convert the integer and make it into a string. We just made a function, but didn't make any way to actually trigger the function. So let's copy this and paste it instead of the ready function. Let's look. The label now has the value of 0. Let's do the same thing, but with the label 2 and the red counter. So let's copy all of this, paste, and look, the label's name is label 2. So let's make label 2, and instead of blue counter, let's make it red counter. The problem is, our buttons aren't really doing anything. They're just there for decoration right now. But now, let's make it actually do something. So, you see these two tabs, Inspector and Node. Go to the Node tab and select Press. Press Connect. And connect again. It places it in our script. Let's do the same thing, but for the rest of the buttons. Let's go to Press, Connect, Connect, and we connected it. Let's do it again. Again. We have a press function for our buttons. The way that this function will be triggered is when the button is pressed, it will trigger the code that's inside of the function automatically. What we want in our app is that this button will increase our counter by 1. And our node is button. Blue counter plus equals 1. This will increase our counter by 1. Now, this one will increase red counter. So let's copy this and place it in this and change it to red. We're just changing the variable's value, but it isn't actually changing the text of the label at the same time. Here's where we can use our function again called counter update and paste it right after we increase our value on the red counter or blue counter. When we increase our variable, it will also update the label's text. Once we've done all of that, let's now add a third label, which should be a counter at the top center of the screen. So let's add another label. Make the parent be control. Let's change the size to this. So let's actually delete this and just duplicate the pre-existing one instead, so that it'll be faster. And just keep ratio and move it to the top center of the screen. Let's do keep ratio again so that it will scale properly. And in this app, you want to make the player match the number from this label to the one into the center the fastest. We want this label to have a number. So let's go in the code and make a function. And name it game start. In this function, we want a random number to appear on the label at the top center of the screen. First, let's make a variable. And this will be number. Let's set it to 0. Then number equals and range. Let's set it on a higher number so that both players can actually have a chance. Let's make it from 8 to 17. The seed for the random will become random. Let's place randomize. This will ensure that our seed will be changed each time and to become less predictable on the rand range. Let's change the text of label 3, which if we look back into our app is the label at the top center. Let's go to the text variable of this node and make it the string of number. But first, let's actually move this variable out of that function and into all of the code. This will allow us to use the variable outside of the function. Let's copy this and actually trigger it at the start of loading the scene. Let's run it. It seems that we got a problem. Our random number has a decimal, and this can be problematic since you can only do whole numbers with these buttons here. So let's try to fix that. This rand range is giving us decimals. My method of fixing this is to simply round the number that is given to us by the rand range. So let's do round and paste in this rand range inside of round. This should fix it. Now let's move on to the next portion of our game, where it will actually check if the number is actually the same as the counter at the top center of the screen. Let's do if blue counter is equal to, we will want to actually add a winner screen. So let's leave this blank for now and add a winner screen. We're back into our app. And let's just add a texture. Make it go all the way across the screen. And make it scale properly. And let's change the texture to blue. Make sure you have expand on. And this will be the blue victory screen. Let's just leave it like that for now. And rename this node to blue V. Duplicate. Rename it to red V. And let's change the texture to red. Let's hide it for now. Let's go in our script. And since it's blue side, let's do $, blue V. Oh, we made a misspell right here. Now that should fix it. Visible equals true. And false will make red visible. Let's copy this and paste it onto our second button. Change it from red to blue. Let's now test this out. And if this works, our app is basically complete without the aesthetics to make it look nicer. We have the app. Number is 9. So let's go back up to 9. And let's click this. And the screen goes to blue. So it worked. Let's try it again. But this time, now the number is 15. Let's make this go up to 15 and press this button. And now it goes to red. Let's try it again. But this time, let's not match the number to 15 or the number that's actually given. Number 16, but let's just go up to 10 and press it. It goes to red side. Blue side lost for not matching the number correctly and still submitting the number. All that's really missing is some textures to make it look nicer and aligning the text correctly. Remember to like this video and subscribe to this channel.